Now we hit in the last few days, we hit a real reprieve in the weather. We took advantage of it and took 2 riding days, like a free bonus. But anyway, time to get back to work today. But we still have one more day of this nice weather left, and I thought, wow, the 2 days we had riding gave our clear 2 extra days to dry. It should sand out, and I can get that last coat of clear on today. Wow, is that going to put me in a wonderful mood? I'm never in a good mood. I'm cranky all the time. But when I see the project moving along, or be with my grandson, or ride with my friends like we did yesterday, well, cheers me up, and I'm a little less grumpy. But anyway, we do have this little reprieve in the middle of winter, when it's usually ice on a pond and below freezing, and here we are. It was way over 40 degrees. We took advantage of it. But that's the whole thing with leapfrogging, is to always have something drying while you're doing something else. It's been a wonderful way to do little restorations when you do them on a budget, and you do them with a limited amount of space and money like I do here in the garage. Now, what's always funny to me, if you have a Jay Leno type garage and you have an unlimited budget and you have a staff of guys working for you, and you have a machine shop at your disposal and the polishing shop. Well, the purpose of these videos is, I think, you can see that you really don't need any of that. It's nice if you have it, but you can still do this on a limited budget with a limited amount of, really a limited amount of money. But the one thing you need is passion and drive to get out to the garage every day and get some part of that project done. And we have been really successful at doing that. Over the past 4 months, we've gotten, I think a lot of work done. And I think the result is we're very close to having that day or a couple of days that we're going to put the whole bike together and be out on the open road. And so far, this project has been, it's just gone as sweet as you could imagine. And I know at the end of it, we're going to have a really usable, friendly, reliable motorcycle. Now, I know this may sound hokey, but it's something I think about basically every day that I'm out here flipping battery chargers. I think about this. When I'm watching YouTube, every once in a while, there's a channel that pops up. I don't even know what it is. It just pops up. I watch it for a few minutes because it isn't my cup of tea. It's about a fella that owns a collection of Bugattis, and they're millions of dollars, and he's got an air-conditioned garage, and he takes them in for $25,000 tune-ups. It's all entertaining. But what I wonder is, and I wonder in my heart of hearts, when he does that, is he really having any more fun than I am? And of course the truth is, he is. But I'm not jealous at all. I just really appreciate the fact that over the years, Luciano has helped me get this bike collection together and get them all running to where they're reliable motorcycles, and where when the spring breaks, we'll be out riding. And we'll be out doing whatever we do with our friends, and I'm never quite sure what that is. We had some great rides over the weekend, but spring is in the air. Too bad it's not. It's fake spring. If it were real spring, the birds would be chirping. They're not chirping yet. There's a sense of spring. Goofy, our neighborhood cat, just came out to visit me. Sometime I'm in the garage and he sleeps under our van, and sometime he comes in the garage when I'm polishing motorcycles. And we have no ice on the pond, but we are still in the 40s. But we're going to have a great day of painting. It's a blue skies day, and we don't even have to spend any time chopping ice this morning. Now, I'm sure I'm not the only one that does this, but the first day of anything above 30 degrees, you get ants in your pants, and I've had ants in my pants for 2 days now. And what could be a better way to relax and have your coffee, because we know we're going to have a couple hours of sanding and maybe a couple hours of spraying those final coats of clear. And boy, we're going to take advantage of this day, even though we're not going to get a ride. It's always good to start the day off dreaming about spring, and spring is coming. It's not coming as quick as I think it is, because I lie a lot. But it won't be long. We'll be listening to these bikes going through the gears. And after a good cup of coffee, now I'm motivated. Now I have that passion flowing, or something flowing, I don't know what, but this is ready. That has had 2 days to dry up under a heating vent, and we are ready 2000 grit INDASA. Let me get some soapy water mixed up. We are ready to start sanding. And as I look at all the parts on this, and I like to oogle the parts every morning, I like to oogle motorcycles and whatever, I just think I need to get inspired in the morning, basically because I'm a lazy person. I like to get motivated, and once I'm motivated and I start dreaming about the future and dreaming about the summer and the spring and all the friends hanging out at Perry's and all the rides and all the gefilte fish I'm going to be eating, it's easy to get motivated. So to do this part of the job, we're going to be using 2000 grit INDASA sandpaper, some water with a few drops of Dawn, and a whole lot of elbow grease. So as I try to do on every video, I try to show the first part of every operation in real time. That may or may not be boring to some people, but again, the purpose of this whole video, the whole series of videos, is just to share information. Now where these letters are, obviously there's more paint over the gold, so there's little mountaintops. Now there's a real thing that you have to have, and it's kind of like patience is not the right word, but you've got to be willing to spend the time to get this area flat, that there are no shiny spots. And then once you get to that point, you've got to stop, because if you keep going, you're going to go down into the gold. So the idea of this is not to scratch the gold, but to get this all flat. And I have done this a lot of different ways, but I'm going to show this way, back and forth, kind of 90-degree pattern. It doesn't really matter. I have heard that both, well, everybody's got an opinion, of course, in the world of painting. Everybody's a chef or whatever. But this is going to be the kind of thing that it's just going to take time. And I just can't rush it. I really want to do it with a block because I really want this. This is one of the focal points. We've moved that Kawasaki down so you could see it. It was more visible than on where it was on a stock bike. And of course, and yesterday was a good example of why we have to ride with a radar detector. We had our bacon saved more than once. And people that don't ride in our area might not know why we need radar detectors, because I think every cop car in Bergen County has the radar on 24 hours a day. I don't know. But all beside the point. Now, I wanted to make the point, I know this might get boring, I wanted to make the point that this really just takes time. Now I can see, and I want to show this in real time. I don't want to have a big camera cut. I want to show that. So let me take the camera off the tripod if I can. Because this is what you have to see. See the little shiny spots around the edges? Well, we're going to have to just keep sanding it and be very delicate and careful until that's just like that. It's flat. Anywhere there's a shiny spot means there's a little valley that we're going to have to fill up with paint. And that's why we're putting, see, you might want to, this might be information that's usable. I put this clear on, and I did it on 2 or 3 days ago video, almost like an airbrush. And I put on coat after coat after coat, but it was thin and each one got a little chance to dry. So what happens now is I want to flat sand this. If I skip this step and just went to buffing it, those little shiny spots would be a problem, and you would ultimately see that little wave. If you do this patiently with the block, you need to do it, and it's probably going to be another 10-15 minutes because I want to get down to where there are no, I could rub my hand over that and I can't feel it at all. And every step of this today, it's just going to be taking the time and being patient to get the whole tank flat sanded, because then the clear that I put on today, I really only have to put on an amount of clear, but I'm going to do it the same way I did it. I'm going to do it in a lot of thin coats. I don't want to have any chance of getting anything like a big glob or a run or anything, because this is, when you look at a motorcycle, the absolute first thing you see is the gas tank. This is like when you look at a car, the first thing you see is the top part of the hood or whatever. You don't see the bottom of the muffler. So this is one of what I call the focal points, and I will just tough it out, and as long as it takes, and as much time and energy or sandpaper, or doesn't really matter. Because every step of this, now what I'm doing, I'm gonna have to do this over and over again, and I won't videotape the whole thing because it's really gonna go on for a long time. Now you can see that we're down to having very, very few spots. Very few. Let me show this. Again, because this is not made to be like a watching Gone with the Wind. It's supposed to be passing on information, because an awful lot of people, when you come over and you just run your hand over something and can't feel it, they're very impressed. Then they say, wow, that's something you don't see even on the highest quality paintwork. And just as an example, if I close my eyes when Luciano was here, or Jose, it doesn't matter, I go, close your eyes and tell me where the trim is. And if you can't feel it, it means as a painter, I've done my job. And when you're going to buff out wheels to where they're just like jewelry, there's no substitute for getting that just before you put the last coat of clear on, or the last thin coat. I want to put thin coats. I'm going to do the same thing with the airbrush. That technique is working so good. And when I'm done, I want that tank to just be a piece of jewelry. So it took a lot more time than I thought it would, but I wanted to get to this point. We don't have a single little, even a pinhole of a shiny spot there. And now that part is in the bank. Now the part that does not have lettering, I want it to be as smooth as possible. You can see there's a little moon crater there. Not a moon crater, it's a little piece of dust or something. But the rest of it is easy. But that's the part that has to be perfect. That's what your eye is going to be drawn to. If you just walk up and you're going to look at the motorcycle, that's the first thing you're going to see. Now the parts of this that don't have any lettering, a lot easier to sand. I try to do as much as I can with the block, but obviously the little corners and angles and edges. And the one thing not to do is hold the block over the edge, the mountaintop, or over this ridge. If you do that, you're almost guaranteed you're going to go right through, and then you've got a touch-up. But of course, it's always good to know that you can do these little touch-ups, especially on black. Black's the easiest thing in the world to touch up. But we'd like to have this done with no touch-ups, and I will be willing to spend whatever time, whatever energy it's going to take today, because looks like we have a paintable day, and even if I do it later in the day, at the end of the day, it won't matter. This is going to be done today, and I'm going to be very, very excited about it. Now, the parts where there isn't any lettering, a lot easier. But again, what we're looking for, the main thing is it's dead flat. No shiny spots at all. And of course, where there isn't any lettering, it usually comes flat right down. I did that in real time. I wanted to show, so we've done this one in real time. Let me get a rag, because I know I can hear people snoring already. But when you really want to know how to do something, this is the kind of stuff you're definitely not going to find on regular TV. And when they're showing custom car shows and custom this and custom that, and they always skip over stuff, and I don't want to skip over anything. And that's going to be, and boy, again, thank John and Thomas Luciano. Wow, did they hit a home run with that. And that was the one part of the job I had anxiety about, because I was thinking, how the hell am I going to get that to match the bike? The original lettering was silver. And now that becomes one of the parts of the bike that when you look at it, you go, wow, he did not skip a step. So what I'm going to try to do is the rest of this tank, the rest of it is just labor, is have another cup of coffee and do the rest of it off camera, because we don't want to waste a painting day. Now it always works best for me if I break this up almost like a checkerboard. In other words, I want to get this part I had to do by hand. I want to be real careful not to go through on these edges. And if I break this up, it becomes a lot of little jobs instead of one big job. As an example, now I'll just work on this piece, then this piece here, breaking it down. It just helps me, because otherwise you get frustrated. If you try to just go like that and sand the whole thing, it gets frustrating. And once I get one little spot that I'm happy with it, there's no little shiny spots. Just as an example, here's a spot that still needs some sanding. And once you can recognize that, and that's the information you need to get if you're really looking to put that ultimate show quality paint down, this is what you've got to sand down. And you've got to sand it down flat without going through. And those extra days that we spent, The 2 days we spent riding, working to our favor now because this paint is just sanding like butter. And when paint is new, it's only a day old. Sometimes it turns into chewing gum, and then it's just best to just wait. One of the things a little story I wanted to share that I've never forgotten. Many years ago, and of course Karen is a giant football fan. She loves the NFL. And we were watching Jimmy Johnson, former Cowboys coach, being interviewed after a Super Bowl win. And they asked him, what's the best feeling you can have in all of sports that he had participated in? And he said, it's in the fourth quarter, when you only have a few minutes left to play and you know you're going to win the game. And that's where we are with this project. We have one more couple of minutes of spraying to do, a couple of days of drying, and then when this gets buffed out, that will be time to start reassembling a motorcycle. And I really look forward to that. And I didn't want to do it in a haphazard way. I wanted to do it very methodically, piece by piece, and make sure each piece is as good as I can make it, and if it needed anything corrected or touched up, I didn't want to skimp on time, energy, money, sandpaper, or the main thing, coffee. Now, after all the hard work we put into this, and we have put a lot of hours into this, we are ready for the final, what I think is going to be the final coat of clear. We're going to put it on with very low air pressure, like an airbrush. Turn the spray gun into an airbrush, and I think if it lays down, the weather is basically the same as it was the day we painted this. Not a whole lot different. We're in this crazy warm spell. It's not even warm. It's just nice for painting. There's no wind and there's plenty of sun. And I wanted to take advantage of it. Now the only thing left is to tack rag it. Look for anything that looks like it could be. I didn't want to get too cute around the gas cap. I don't want to go through. I don't want to have any touch-ups. That's ready to be tack ragged, and that's ready to paint. Now to clear that we're going to use is Gavco 7701. I always mention all. Of course, this is pretty much the same as the 5-star. Not a whole lot different. So before I actually start to clear, here's the secret. The secret to getting clear to lay down just right is have yourself an extra cup of coffee. Boy, that works every time. That is a secret to the experts. Well, I don't think it could be a better day for spraying, and we're going to use that same technique. A lot of thin airbrush type coats. I've got the pressure way down on the compressor. The temperature is probably about 45 degrees, and the sun is out and the wind isn't blowing, and that should result in some really, I think, exceptional, really nice painting. I hope I'm right. Now I'm going to sit out here and babysit this for about a half an hour. Karen will bring me out some more coffee, I'm sure. I don't want anything happening to this. I don't want to have a bird get interested in making a nest where the gas cap is or something crazy. That, now I feel like Jimmy Johnson, because I know when it comes out like that and the paint lays down and you put it on in thin coats, the buff out is a piece of cake. It's gonna buff out so good. If you could see in real life how that gold looks, that gold, that is the whole key to the whole thing. And had I not been able to get that Kawasaki word to look that good, this would have been a far less rewarding project for me. Wow, that is, now all the labor that I put into this is starting to pay dividends. Now I'm not sure you can see the depth of, because we have that extra black on there and that Bentley black, I just don't know that could get a lot better. Wow. There's just so many parts of this job that are just absolutely beautiful. Boy, it's going to be exciting buffing this out and the assembly of the bike. I can't wait. So the plan is to get one more thin coat of clear on that, and especially, and this is a good trick by the way, especially a little bit extra around the edges, around where the stenciling is, and around a gas cap where you know it's going to take a beating from the radar detector bouncing around there and everything. And every one of these restorations, springtime came pretty much just in the nick of time. I was really looking forward to seeing that final assembly, and I remember being so impatient with the FZR, but spring always comes. You think it's never going to be here? It's going to be here. And now it's starting to look like those 2 days we had of riding are paying big dividends, because that paint sanded out, that clear now is going to sit extra days before we buff it out. There's just no substitute for letting clear dry a couple extra days, especially if you're doing this in the winter and you buy a heating vent. And yet, the biggest part of all of these restorations is the vision you have to have in the very beginning, and then the follow through, and then the commitment to spend the time, the energy, the money. But at some point in time, you turn into Jimmy Johnson and you know you're going to win the Super Bowl. And even our beloved RD, the pride of our fleet, I remember lining up that stripe and getting all the ladders done and painting the wheels. Boy, a day like today brings back a lot of memories. Now, this has nothing to do with paint, but as I'm waiting for that coat to dry, the kids called and they told Karen that Miles now has a fish tank with 4 fish. Now, Miles has always been fascinated by these fish, but I'm so glad he has an interest in, well, in life itself. And I just never want to walk too far away from that tank, because, as I've said before, on a day like today, you never know when there's going to be a grasshopper or a bug or a who knows what. Or Goofy the cat jumps up on a table and takes a lick. You never know. So the babysitting is well worth the effort. Well, I feel like we just won the Super Bowl. That really has, we have taken advantage of a day that, because of leapfrogging, it's not a rainy day, it's not the wind isn't blowing, and we got, there's very little dust in the paint. It'll be very easy to clean that last little bit up with some 2000 grit. But now the secret is to be patient enough to let that sit for 2 or 3 days under a heating vent, and well, I just don't think that could be a lot better. So as I looked this over for one last time, ooh, oh my God. This is why I love painting. You always see your reward right away. Wow. And I hope you've picked up some good information, man. Something that'll make your restoration easier. And wow, a very special day. And thanks for watching.